Greetings and welcome to DORAGONS Domain, Episode 3. I am Dorgan Kishu, Paladin and Dragon Rider. In our last episode, we talked about my Homebrew Creative Process, or creation process rather. We covered drawing the land and drawing the territories, and then adding different terrains. I also made the choice to have 4 different kingdoms: a lizard kingdom, and a barbarian king, and a warrior king, and an elven king, which he'll probably be a high elf. I also went to, since that last post, I went to Twitter and asked for some help naming those 4 kings, and then did a post in my Dorgan's Kishu blog that talks a little bit about DESPA, the land we're creating during this whole process, and also the names that were suggested to me and that I chose. So I'll put a link on that for that blog as well as a link to my last episode of Doragons Domain. Just a little announcement, kind of early in my whole this vlog creation to be doing announcements, but I'll do one anyway. It was suggested to me that I do a Dungeons and Dragon ones. So, wow, I didn't get a lot of sleep last night. Dungeon Master content and campaign update content, separate videos. I guess you can have different playlists that way. But anyway, I'm going to give it a shot. So this episode is part 2 of our. In this episode, we'll be covering populating your now land of Despa, in the case of the one we're using, or I'm creating. Populating it with creatures and humanoids and races throughout. We'll also be talking about creating characters and creatures that are a little bit more information, more detail. They're basically designed to maybe inspire campaigns or whatnot. So let's go ahead and get started a little bit. I just have here, one of the things that I do when I create a land is that, and create territories and fill it with terrain, is then I'll put a little number, 1 through whatever, in each territory, and do a little circle around it. And then I'll make a list later on when I go back to do notes or fill the territories. I'll make a list like this, with just has like the number 1, and you go to the number 1 territory and write what's there. Like in this case, it was a forest. And what I did is a blend of random, using a wandering monster table, once again on my advanced Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master guide, which not everybody might have, but it has wandering monsters for wandering monster tables. And anyway, so sometimes I would randomly determine what's there. Sometimes I would choose what's there. Or mix it up. So like in the first one was like a forest, and I rolled Trents. I thought it would be cool to have some Trents, and that'd be a neat little thing in this one territory. The next time I rolled elves. I also decided that I was only gonna. It was interesting that came up this week. Somebody asked me what the difference was between woods and forest, because I had added as a category of terrain woods. So like, and I said, I think of forest, I think of pine trees, and woods, I think of oak, right? But also, I think of woods are often, to me, a little bit more magical. They're also not as dense. Like you might have a giant forest and a small wood. Wood elves, to me, so I decided to just have wood elves mostly only populate the woods area, which a lot of it ended up being in the southern part of the map. Anyway, just a little side note. So over here, see, also we've got the different kinds of elves. There's drow, there's high elves, there's gray elves, which I'm not super familiar with, but I'm including. Wood elves is the only ones I kind of included in choosing. And then, like sometimes when I'd roll forest, maybe I'd roll a random thing, creature or whatever, but I would also put elves there too. And I created a little elf list of like, if I roll a 1 or a 2, it's a drow. If I roll a 3, it's a gray elf. Or 4 or 5, it's a high elf. And like I said, I wouldn't include wood elves. I'd only put those in the woods, and that list was really just for the forests. So we did things like rolled, gray elves. Let's see. This one, the giant lynx, but I also included elves, so I kind of added that in there. And let's see, like in this one, I rolled snakes. It was a marsh. I rolled snakes, but I thought I'll go ahead and add lizard men to it as well, because we do have a lizard king in a different territory, but still kind of themes of the land. Same thing. Next one, I rolled snakes in the marsh, and added lizard men to that, and then rolled some trolls in a rock area. Let's see, and yes, I think you're getting the basic idea. I rolled merchants a lot, so that was interesting. There's this desert that has a bunch of merchants, and yeah. So anyway, you can, like I said, you can use random to fill the territories. You can, with humanoids and creatures and races. You can, like I said, do random, but you can also adjust with the results. If I rolled wild boars, I'm not just going to say that, and that's not all I'm going to have in that territory. And then, of course, when people go through it, you will roll wandering monster things anyway. But anyway, you can go in a lot more detail on that. But that's what I did with that. Scooting back to. Then the next part was key characters that are in your campaign. Like I said, I came up with 4 kings. The 4 kings of DESPA, to me, is not a bad name in general. The 4 kings of DESPA, that could be a campaign. So with the name that we came up with for the barbarian king, King Krugendor, King Krugendor the Cleaver, barbarian king. And that name was created by Eric Buckert, who I will link below. And he is in this case, I rolled stats, doing 4-6-sided dice. Now sometimes I create characters, I just create all the stats, but in these cases I was being a little more loose. I rolled 4-6-sided dice, took the best 3. But I still made some alterations because his strength came out really low. So I thought, well, maybe he's an aging king. But then I changed my mind and raised it. But he'll probably still be aging. The next king is the name was brought up by D&D Knight. I'll link that as well below. And that is Cinderis Starwind, Elven King. I wrote down a few notes. Hasty, power hungry, rolled okay, adjusted some of those stats as well. I wanted him to be, intelligent. He's not very strong, but anyway, I didn't go into a lot of detail. These are just the initial stats with a couple notes. The next one was the Warrior King. D&D Knight came up with that name. Thardorn, my writing. Thardorn Blade Breaker. Oh my gosh, I'm going to put that on the screen because I did not write this well. Anyway, it's a cool name. So yeah, his stats were okay. Raised his strength a little bit, raised his constitution a little bit. Let's see. He's a young king. He's only 30 years old. So father died 2 years ago. So that's kind of just a thought that came. When I create characters, sometimes it'll stimulate ideas, or depending on where they're at and things like that. So I thought a young king would be kind of cool. Try to prove himself. Whether or not his father was a good king or not, that's another whole other thing, right? And the last of the kings, this is by Eric Buckert again, who, this was my favorite name. It was for the Lizard King. Is Sartroth Bloodscale, which I just like that name. I think that's very cool. Brought me a lot of ideas, and his scores were actually pretty good. I raised his strength quite a bit. His wisdom is 17, so I thought that was kind of cool. Maybe be known as the Sartroth the Wise, which normally you might think of a lizard king or a lizard man as something evil or not too smart, or I'm not basing this off of just, I haven't used lizard men to be honest with you very much, but I thought it'd be interesting to make him a wise lizard king. So yeah, so here's an idea of just some characters, and then you just go into the details. You determine what's their army size, like how many swordsmen they have, or how many archers, or how many ballistas, or how many mages, or they may not have any, but it's just, that's the kind of details that I would go do on these guys next. And then the other thing I was going to talk about in this episode was thematic creatures. Creatures that you hear about it and you want to do a quest, and that like I said, in the other land I created that I'm campaigning right now is Red Dragon and Storm Giant. But then this one, you can look back at when I was rolling up some of the creatures and humanoids and all that. I was getting ideas for things, tribal leaders and things like that. But you can choose any kind of creature. Like, I think I rolled stone giants in this one mountain area, and I just thought that would kind of be an interesting thing. I know that's common, maybe, but I think you know what I mean. I don't want to go into a lot of detail in this video, also. Use your imagination. If something comes to your mind, like I said, when you go through the process of rolling these random things, you can get sometimes stories come together. So yeah, I'm gonna probably end it there. But I was gonna be doing a campaign, DORAGONS Domain video as well, except it was canceled last night, which is like, oh my gosh. I only play right now. I'm in one group, 5e group, my first 5e group. I'm not DMing it. I've told you guys about this already, but having a lot of fun. It's only a couple hours a week though, so it's like it's hard to wait a week and then for it to get canceled. And a lot of you guys already know all about this. So, but the group I don't think is falling apart or anything, so I think we're all good. But yeah, so I'm not going to be doing an update video this week, but I'll probably do another one still before the next campaign. So. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on Twitter.